Thank you, Senator Udall. Boy, that was some heavy subjects you all were talking about earlier. I'm here for your entertainment. We need to lighten things up a little bit, I think, and talk a bit about your Capitol. So first, let me talk a bit about the architect of the Capitol and who we are. Well, these fine-looking 10 gentlemen preceded me. I am the 11th architect of the Capitol in our 219-year history in this great city of Washington, D.C. My predecessor and myself are appointed to 10-year terms. Prior to that, it was a lifetime appointment. And you see George White there, the 9th architect, served nearly 25 years in office. And that's why there's only been 11 of us in our 219-year history. So there we are. Let me give you a quick fly-through of this great city. Our property starts right here. The legislative branch starts right here at the Capitol Reflecting Pool, and my office manages the Capitol Building, the Supreme Court, and the Thurgood Marshall Federal Judiciary Building, since they happen to be on Capitol Hill, even though they're part of the judicial branch and not the legislative branch. There's Union Square there, and the Thurgood Marshall Federal Judiciary Building by Edward Larrabee Barnes. One of my jobs is also to oversee the Capitol Police Department. You see its building right there with some nearly 1,800 sworn officers and a couple hundred civilians serving and protecting the Congress. You see the Senate office buildings, the beautiful Cass Gilbert Supreme Court building from 1935, Library of Congress buildings and the House office buildings. And what many people don't know is a power plant you see right there where we make all of the steam and chilled water to heat all of the buildings on Capitol Hill. Nearly 18 million square feet of space that we manage on behalf of the Congress. Some of the hidden gems, you saw the Thomas Jefferson Building, but also the National Garden and the United States Botanic Garden, where we host nearly 1 million visitors a year. Really one of the beautiful places right here on Capitol Hill, that if you haven't had a chance to see that, I hope you do before you leave. So, I like to use these 4 images to describe what we do. First, we manage the beautiful and historic Capitol grounds designed by Frederick Law Olmsted in 1874. Secondly, we manage the artwork and statuary collection on behalf of the Congress. Whether it's the Congress wanting to commission a new piece of artwork like they did with Sojourner Truth here, or like we're doing right now with Rosa Parks, or right now with vice presidential busts. We do a marble bust of every vice president and place that either in the Senate chamber or right outside the Senate chamber. And as our moniker, you might think, we are responsible for all of the design and construction and renovation and maintenance of all of the buildings on Capitol Hill. And lastly, Visitor Services plays a really important role in what we do, and I'll show you a quick video of that right at the end to give you a sense of how important Visitor Services is to the Capitol. We like to say that we serve, preserve, and inspire. We serve the American people every day, we serve Congress every day, and we work behind the scenes to enable the Congress to do what it does. There's a small army of people that work behind Senator Udall and the other members from Colorado that are maintaining the elevators and escalators and running the restaurants and running the subways and making electricity and heat and steam and chilled water to cool and purchasing the furniture and the carpet, and all of that is part of my office's responsibility. And that's how we serve the Congress. We also spend a great deal of time converting our old buildings, our old energy hogs, into modern energy efficient buildings like this new Capitol Visitor Center that you're in today. This Capitol is also a place where people like to come to exercise their constitutional rights and petition their government. And we host 4th of July celebrations and Memorial Day concerts and all of those things that my office works behind the scenes to make those happen on behalf of the Congress. It's where we inaugurate our presidents. And the west front of the Capitol doesn't look like that. We actually build all of those stands, stick build it out of wood, so that we can inaugurate our presidents here and often bid them farewell here as well. We take very seriously this awesome responsibility that you've entrusted to me in my office to preserve the national treasures that are entrusted to our care, this great Capitol building. And here's one of my favorite photographs, a little montage of what this Capitol building looked like in the beginning. There on the bottom by Dr. William Thornton, the first architect of the Capitol. That was his winning design for the Capitol building. The next one up by Charles Bulfinch is what was actually built, and that's from about 1820. And then if you remember your history, westward expansion, the Congress outgrew their Capitol building. The building got much longer and needed a much taller dome to keep it in scale, and a much taller and fireproof dome. And then Thomas Eustick Walter designed that cast iron dome that you see there today that was completed in 1863. It looks beautiful and pristine from the ground, but you know, when you get up close, as we inspect it on a regular basis, you'll see some scaffolding around the Capitol dome now where we're up there preserving and maintaining it. When you get up close, this is actually what it looks like up close. It's cast iron, it rusts, it doesn't like water, it doesn't like weather, and it requires a great deal of maintenance to keep it looking as great as it does from the ground. Not only is this Capitol building our symbol of freedom and our symbol of democracy, not just here in the United States, but across the globe, it's also, from an architect's perspective, it's also, I think, our quest to find our own identity as a country. Here is Benjamin Henry Latrobe's quest to define who we are, who American architecture is, and what says America more than a corncob column with corncob stalks. This is, you know, the ancient Greeks didn't do this. The ancient Romans didn't do this. This is not the Doric or Iconic or Corinthian orders of architecture. This is American architecture. And I think this Capitol building talks a bit about us trying to define ourselves and this new country. Thomas Eustick Walter was on the same quest. You know, here's him testing a tobacco leaf and a thistle and combining it with the ancient acanthus leaves on a column Capitol here in the Hall of Columns on the house side of the Capitol building. So I think it's not just a temple to democracy, not just the glorification of George Washington, but it's also our own quest to define who we are as Americans. This preservation is not just about the Capitol building and the other treasures, it's actually about the drawings themselves that these architects drew. It's about Frederick Law Olmsted, and here's his original landscape design from 1874. It's about preserving the wonderful fountains. It's about preserving the views, the peekaboo views you get of the Capitol building when you approach it and walk towards it that Olmsted was so careful to design. We don't do everything perfectly. You know, here's what I call preservation gone wrong. Years ago, you know, we specialize in 8th graders, as you can see in the Capitol Visitor Center. We specialize in 8th graders, and 8th graders like to touch everything. So years ago, the architect of the Capitol said, well, why don't we just varnish these beautiful historic paintings? And therefore, you know, the 8th graders that touch them really won't do any damage. Well, look what happens to varnish after 40 years. It turns yellow. So we've gone back in recent years and conserved those walls and conserved the beautiful statuary collections. And hopefully both of you recognize both of these statues. Everybody recognize those? Yes? The one on the right, of course, Jack Swigert, is one of my favorites. He's in the Capitol Visitor Center on the southeast corner. Take a look at him as you stand in front of Swigert and look into his helmet. You see this beautiful reflection of the Capitol dome through the skylight behind. I like to say that as architects, sometimes we have these great visions, and sometimes we get lucky. And we got lucky on that one. And when we, you know, of course, you know, when we make mistakes, we plant ivy, and you know, we can hide our mistakes. Eighth graders like to touch everything, so my office preserves these great statues that are donated from Colorado and all of the other states in our union. And lastly, we like to inspire people as they come to visit their capital. Nearly 2.5 million walk in that front door of the Capitol every day, and it's our job to make a positive first impression about their Congress, about Senator Udall, about public service, about the architect of the Capitol. And you know, if you're met with a machine gun and a grumpy police officer is one thing, in your strip shirts. If you're welcomed in a respectful way and our employees are there to help you with a smile on their face, that's a different story. And you're going to go back and you're going to tell your friends about the great time and what you learned and how you were inspired at the Capitol building. We get 20,000 people a day, and here is what 20,000 people a day looks like in the Capitol building. And we work so hard to make that positive first impression about the people that walk in the front door, teach them a little bit about the Congress, the history of the Congress, and the great things that the Congress has done for our country since its inception through today. Yep, it goes on and on and on. You're about 5,000 right now. You're nowhere near 20,000 yet. It's amazing the influence that this building has on people. And we work so hard to inspire their thoughts about public service, to get engaged with their government, just like you're getting engaged today in this Capitol, Colorado conference. And I'm going to stop this. You're about 10,000 now. This is a real time-lapse photography. You're only about 10,000 now. But I'm just going to stop with a future event. You know where the next Capitol Christmas tree is coming from, right? The White River National Forest from Colorado, and I look forward to standing out next December with Senator Udall in front of the Capitol building and bringing that wonderful tree from Colorado and that national forest and lighting that and really showing off Colorado to the country. Thank you, everyone.